Welcome to the Home Designer Seminar. My name is Emily, and I will be presenting the master bathroom from our Design Ideas Contest winner. So we also have Jenna with us, and Jenna is our chatter. So if you have any questions throughout today's presentation, you'll be using the chat function through GoToMeeting, and I'll go over that here in just a little bit. So you'll be corresponding with Jenna. Today we are doing something a little different with our Design Ideas contest. We have a contest on our Facebook page, and this last one was a master bathroom, and Chrissy was our winner, so congratulations on winning the master bathroom design contest. She did win a few things. We do offer a free one-on-one online training session with a certified chief architect trainer. And she also won a water bottle and a chief architect t-shirt. So congratulations. We are going to be using Chrissy's design for the inspiration today. And before we get started with that design, I'm going to go over the GoToMeeting control panel so you can see how to control everything here. So first of all, we have the audio. With the audio setup, the standard is use mic and speakers. Since our class is pretty large today, I have everybody muted, so you don't need a mic. You'll just be listening to me through your speakers. If you don't hear me correctly, double check the volume on your system or select that audio setup, and that will also help adjust the levels through the GoToMeeting system. If that's just not working, select Use Telephone and you can call in. There will be a new phone number and code and everything there for you. There might be some charges depending on your location for that phone call. If you don't see this larger area, select the little toolbar. It goes right up to the upper right-hand corner. So select that orange arrow button to restore this larger area so you have full control there. And underneath the audio is the questions. So you can type in any questions at the bottom here, select send, and then you'll have your question and answer log here that you can refer to. We do offer many different home designer programs, as well as a professional line of software, Chief Architect. Today I'll be using our Home Designer Professional. So we do have a lot of different ranges depending on your design needs. So I just wanted to make you aware of the different options here, but we'll be using that professional today. And that's what Chrissy used for her design as well. All right, so here is the image that we will be trying to replicate today. And so within our Home Designer program, I'll show you how everything's laid out, and then we'll define just this room. We're only going to focus on the bathroom today, so we'll just be drawing out the walls for this room, and I'll show you how to dimension. And then we'll go over how to create this vanity, and then do our tub kind of surround area. And over on this area, it looks like there's a glass shower, so we'll touch on doing a glass shower as well. And then we'll get into applying all of our finishes, different materials, changing those, and a little bit about our lighting. So if you have any questions, feel free to chat those in to Jenna, and she'll be answering all of those for you today. So let's get started with our plan here. Here is Home Designer Pro 2012. Across the top, you'll notice our toolbar. This is our default toolbar. And over on the right-hand side, we have a library browser. These are all of the different materials and objects that we'll be using throughout today's design. So first of all, we have that select object, the arrow tool, pretty common in all different programs. Next, we have our straight wall tool. So I'm going to single click on that straight wall tool. We also have a curved wall option that you can use. And once I select that parent tool on the right-hand side, I have all of my child options. So we can do our exterior wall, interior, and we have some different options here, half wall, invisible. So different controls here. I'm going to start out with my exterior wall. So once I have that selected, I simply bring my cursor down onto my grid, click and drag. And as I drag this out, you'll notice there are temporary dimensions that appear. So with this, I can kind of get a basic idea of the size of my room. And with the rest of my room, it's connected to interior walls. So I'll go back up, select that interior option, put my cursor over that exterior wall so we connect everything here, and then just bring it all down. So once everything is connected, we'll have a living area, so it will define that square footage for us. Now let's get into a 3D view to see what's been created. Up in our toolbar, we have a camera look-in tool. It has a perspective view tool label here. So we can do a full camera, which I'll be using a little bit later. We have a full overview, which will include the ceiling or roof that's generated. And then we have a dollhouse view. So I'm going to select that dollhouse view to get into a 3D here. And I'll be using my Orbit with mouse tool. You can just click and drag. And zooming over this room, you'll notice that we have our flooring, we have our molding, and we also have all of the materials for our walls. Since this is a small space, you can also single click on a wall and open that for specification to make it invisible. So once it's selected, you'll see an editing toolbar at the bottom of the screen. And once I select Open Objects, that will bring up the wall specification where I have full control over this wall. Some of the different programs offer that editing toolbar on the left-hand side, so just be aware of that. It could be over there for you. So under the General tab, I'm just going to click Invisible and OK, and there we are. So you can do that with any wall that you place. Just open that up for specification and mark that as invisible. So you do have that different control with all of the different wall options. And then we can continue working in this view. We can just scroll in here. You can zoom in and out with your scroll wheel on the mouse. And then we can go across our toolbar up here. I'm going to drop in a door. So with the door option selected, we have the hinge door, doorway, sliding door, a pocket door, bifold, and a garage door. So these are kind of just the generic door options. Since my wall is connected to an exterior space, when I single click on my wall, it's going to drop in an exterior door. So we can change this. We can open this up for specification. I'm just going to double click on the door. That's the same as going down to your open object, so you can specify that. So instead of using this exterior door, we can get into our door styles and we can just do, let's try panel. So we can just change it to a panel, or you can get into the library and choose a whole different style. So many different options there. And I'll select OK, and that will update in here. All right, let's get back into my 2D view, and we will control our dimensioning a bit. So I'm just going to close the 3D window that opened. All right, so let's dimension. I can single click on one wall, and you'll see the temporary dimensions appear. So if I'd like to, I can either select this guy or the perpendicular. Let's just select the dimension along the wall. I can single click on that, and let's change that to 9 feet. So I'll put 9 and then the foot marker. And this indicator says that the bottom's going to remain stationary and that the top of the wall is going to move up or down accordingly. All right, so there we are. And while that wall is still selected, I can use this temporary dimension and change that. But instead of using our temporary dimension, I'm going to actually show you our dimensioning tools. Up in the toolbar, we have our dimension controls. And you can get in here and do metric or imperial. You can specify that before you get started in your plan. So we have the manual dimension, point to point. I'm going to get into this interior dimension. With the interior dimension, just click outside, drag it right through that room, and you'll notice that that will locate to the interior of the wall. So we can then single click on a wall and then that manual dimension line that we've placed. And I'm going to change that to 12 feet, 8 inches. And you don't need to put a marker for inches. The program already recognizes everything in inches. So just that foot marker. All right, so now I can single click on that dimension line, hit delete on my keyboard, and we're good to go. And for our door, I'm going to single click on that door, and we have a little triangle here that we can rotate around to change that opening. I'm going to just drag it out there. All right, so now let's get into our vanity area. So this time I'll be using a full camera view and just click in the corner here and drag to my focus. So this is like we're standing in the room. And I'm going to get into 2 different views here in just a minute. First, let's just place a cabinet. I'm going to get into my base cabinet tool. And we also have a wall cabinet here, full height, soffit, shelf and partition, so you can create any custom closets, entertainment centers, and so forth with these. And then we have a custom countertop tool in the Home Designer Architectural and Home Designer Pro. All right, so I'm going to bring my cursor down onto my design here. If I put my cursor right in the corner, the outline will change to a corner cabinet. However, we don't need a corner, so I'm going to bring it out just a bit there. Single click, and we'll drop in a cabinet. Now let's get into our 2 different views here so we can see what's going on. I just hit Shift F6. We have different hotkeys throughout the program, different shortcuts, and you can see the different shortcuts alongside some of these different options here. So under Window, we have Tile Vertically, Shift F6. All right, so in our 3D view, I'll make sure I have this one selected. I'm going to select our cabinet and change the height. We're going to have floating cabinets here. So as I move this up, you'll notice the temporary dimension also updates. And we're going to open this cabinet for specification. So we can open this, and right in here, we can change all of the different components. So let's change this to 42 inches. And the depth we can do, let's do 21. And with our countertop, we still want a countertop on here, but I'm going to specify 0 for the overhang. And I also want flat sides on here. I don't want any overhang of our countertop. And then we can also get into the different backsplash controls here. We have a default height of 4 inches. I'm going to up this to 8. And then let's get into the actual cabinet. So if you single click on this preview, it will automatically bring you to the front tab. So number 2, which I have selected, is a drawer. I'm going to delete this drawer. I'm going to single click the doors, delete those. You can also single click on the toe kick. A lot of the different programs offer this toe kick option, and we can delete that. You can also control that toe kick right in that general area in the Home Designer Pro. Gives you a few more options. But back to the front tab, since we have kind of just this opening, I want to make sure it's closed. So we'll do a blank area here to close that. And then I'm going to select OK. All right, so we have the dimensions of this. I'm going to bring over Chrissy's picture here, her design, just so we have a good reference. So it looks like we have things going pretty smoothly with the vanity. Now let's get into the structural components of these legs. And then we'll get into placing the sinks and so forth. And also, just another tip, when you're using different materials, with our cabinet, you'll notice that there are different grains. So with the cabinet tool, it kind of goes in different directions, where Chrissy's design, everything goes in the same direction right over the top. So you can also get into boxes within our library. Underneath our core catalog, we have these shapes. So you can just get into the box options, or you can use that soffit tool in our cabinet toolbar to just create that enclosure without getting into the cabinet options. So that's another workaround if you wanted to do it that way. But I just wanted to show you all of our different cabinet options here. All right, so back to our design. I'm going to zoom in here just using my scroll wheel, and we're going to get into those shapes again. So for the legs, I'm going to get into the cylinders, and we can just go through these. Let's do a small vertical cylinder, and I'm just going to place it randomly in my design. So now that that's placed, I'm going to open that for specification. So select it, and in the editing toolbar, open for specification. We're going to change that height. We need it to match up with our cabinet, so up to 18. And those legs were a bit smaller, so we're going to do 2-inch radius there. And we want it to meet the floor, so we'll have 0, and it's going to automatically adjust to the height of our finished floor. So I can select OK, and let's drag that in. So if you want to free any snaps, our program does snap objects into one another, kind of bumping. So you can just hold down your control key to eliminate any snaps there. So you have free motion. All right, and then let's also open that up, and I want to change the material. So we have a material tab as well. We'll select that item, and we can get into our library. So this will just bring up all of the different libraries that we have. And let's get into a different color. And I'm going to do a gray option. If you select just the folder, you can get a preview of everything here. And let's do that one. All right. So now that I have that all custom, I want to just copy it. So in our editing toolbar, we have a copy and paste. So that will enable me to either click and paste it, or I can also bring my cursor right over that object, click and drag it. So that kind of keeps everything in line. And then I can multi-select. Just by holding down Control on the keyboard again, I'm going to single click on the other leg. I'm going to copy those as one. So copy, put my cursor right over that square move handle, and drag them out. So now we have our legs there. Now let's address the different materials. So I want the backsplash to be a lighter color and the rest of the cabinet to be a consistent color. So I have already created a custom folder in my user catalog. This will enable you to kind of copy any items from the core library, the bonus library, or the manufacturer library if you use those consistently. And so I have quite a few in my design contest folder. So I can just bring that up. Or you can also get into the different areas here. And it doesn't look like I saved that. So let's get into our manufacturers. These are only a handful. I'll show you where you can find all of the different manufacturers right through our website at the end here. So I'm going to just scroll right through here. And I want that as my backsplash. So I need to single click on my 3D window and then select my material. Once I bring my cursor over onto my window here, you'll see that spray can. So I can just spray that right on the backsplash. And you'll notice at the bottom here, I'm in C mode, which is component mode. So you'll just do the backsplash. Object mode would have done the backsplash and that countertop. All right, now let's get back into some different textures here. So we can add a texture I found right through our core catalog. And I'm just going to apply this texture onto my cabinet and the countertop, but I don't want it to be blue. So I want to just put a different color over that texture, so kind of a layering option. So we'll get into the materials and into our colors. We're going to just get into those brown options here. And let's do dust. So with dust selected, I can now go over onto my 3D view, and there will be a new cursor. Instead of that spray can, it's a paint roller. So this means it's going to blend this dust color with that texture. So let me spray that on. So now we have a little bit of a texture with that. If you don't want to blend it, just select this paint roller down at the bottom here, and you can eliminate that. All right, so now let's get back into our library here. I'm going to close up a few of those, and we're going to drop on our vessel sink, and I'll just drop that in right here. All right, I'm going to hit my space bar. The space bar is kind of a shortcut just to go right up to your select objects to get that cursor back here. And I'm going to highlight everything. All of my legs, the vanity, all of those different options. So just marquee around those, and then we can copy those. And I'm just going to pull it over. So then we have a replica right next to it. All of that work we can replicate, no problem. And if you wanted to save this vanity, you can also make an architectural block. That's available in the Home Designer Architectural or Home Designer Pro, so you can block it together and add it to your library for use in the future. All right, now let's get into our mirror options. So we also have a search area. So I'm going to just type in mirror, and that will bring up some different mirror options. And these are just kind of frames and so forth that you can use. So I'm going to scroll out just a little bit here and drop it in. So you can see that it needs to go up a little bit right over our hardware for that sink. So I'm going to single click on that in our 3D view and bring it up just a little bit. And while that's still selected, we can go into our editing toolbar again. We have this center object tool. If you single click on that center object and then bring your cursor right over the cabinet, single click again, and that will center it right over the cabinet. And then let's just bring that up to 45 inches. So I'll just copy that and bring it over. We'll center that again just to make sure. So center object tool, single click on that cabinet, and there we are. We're all centered. And now let's change the material on that frame. So I'm going to get back into my library, and I'm going to change that to a generic color, smoky pearl color. And I'm just in component mode. I want to be in room mode, so it will change the color on both of those at the same time. All right, so we have all of those materials there. Now let's put our lighting on the wall here. So I found the light fixture right through our generic lighting. I'm going to do that in our 2D view so I can get a better accuracy here. So with that selected, I can just drop it right into the plan, and you'll notice when I drop that in, it has changed the lighting. So within our Home Designer programs, it will automatically put a light source in there until you manually put new lighting. So I also want to change this. This is a bit smaller. Let's bring over that picture one more time here. So you'll notice that these sconces are a little larger. So let's get into changing the dimensions on this fixture. So let's get into the height. Let's change that to 12 inches. And I'm just going to increase the width and the depth by an inch. So we'll do 2, and we'll change this to 4, and hit OK. All right, so that's been updated. I'm going to move that over just a bit. And I'm going to copy that. And we also have this sticky mode. So if you want to copy this multiple times, just hit that sticky mode. And we can just bring that over to the center here. And then bring one over to the edge. And there we are. All right, so now let's rotate around here. I'm going to close this 3D view. Maximize our 2D view here. And we're going to focus in on the tub area and that fireplace. So I'll get into another dual view here. We'll just get into that camera, click and drag over here. And Shift F6 is the shortcut that we have. All right. So with the fireplace, I have found a similar kind of surround within our generic library. So with that selected, it's just an object in the fireplace area. We can just single click and that will be dropped into our design. And then we can rework this. Let's change that width and let's bring that up on the wall here. We'll drag it over a little and we'll drag it up. So with the fire, we have just an image. You can select from our fire images, or you can also import your own image. And that will be just like any other material that we've been using so far. It uses that spray can, single click in that area, and that will apply that material. We also need to change the brick or surround here. So I have another material here that we'll just spray right on. And there we go. All right, so now that we have our fireplace, let's get into our cabinet tools again for the tub surround. I'm going to zoom in again using my scroll wheel. We'll get back into our cabinet tools. And this time with our base cabinet, we're going to kind of rework things just with our editing handles here. So I'll resize that, and as we resize, you'll notice the label is changing. So it's a base 54 cabinet. And so that will adjust in our 3D view as well. And then we can change that to a 9-inch. And let's also open this up and change a few different areas here. So in her design, there's no backsplash. So with our backsplash area, let's just specify that as 0. You'll want to make sure you delete the D because that's default. So if you leave it there, it's going to automatically bring back the default. And then let's get into our front area. We're just going to go through that same process and delete the different items there. And let's delete that toe kick and make this a blank area. And we're also going to change this. Let's bring it down to 30 inches. All right. So now that's been changed. I'm going to just copy that. And as I said before, we can just kind of click in the plan to paste it as well. So you can do that instead of using that square edit handle. All right, and I'm going to double click on the invisible wall that we created and just uncheck that invisible. I want that wall back there. Then I'll snap right there. And let's change this to 18. Okay, so we have those two elements, and now let's do a smaller surround area. So we're just going to kind of copy and paste the same cabinet. So I'll do the copy and paste. And I'm going to rotate this around. We'll bump it up to the wall. And then just drag it out to either end here. Let's open that up for specification. I want to change this to be 19 inches. And I don't want any overhang on this guy. So 0 for our overhang. And for any corner treatments, I'm just going to specify none here. However, I would like to have a backsplash, and I'm going to make that 2 inches. And let's select OK and see what appears. Okay, yep, that's looking pretty good. So now that I have that set, I can just copy it and we'll paste another one here. Just drag it down. Everything kind of just bumps up to each other, so it's pretty convenient. Makes it really easy and fast. And since we're bumping it up to a cabinet instead of a wall, the backsplash doesn't really understand it needs to be there. So I'll show you on this side. Just bump it up. All right. So even though I've told it to have a backsplash, it doesn't realize it needs one next to another cabinet. So what I'm going to do is multi-select just by holding down that control key again and opening them at the same time with that Open Object tool. So with the backsplash, we can say always present. So then that will add the backsplash. All right, so I'm going to copy this back one again and finalize the surround. Okay, let's make that a bit smaller. And we also have this point-to-point move tool in Home Designer Pro in the editing toolbar. So with the point-to-point, I can just click on each corner and bring that in. All right, so we have our surround. Now let's get into a tub. So I found this tub. It's a Kohler tub. You can import different objects into the software from Google SketchUp, 3D Studio Max. So you do have quite a few different options there. So we're just going to drop that in and move that. And then we can just use our center object tool. So I'll use that center object tool and just center it right there. And then we'll click on center object tool again, bring our cursor over this back cabinet, single click, and now that's placed. Looks like all of our cabinets here are a little large. So let's open those up and change those to, let's try 6 inches. Okay, so just a few adjustments here and we're good to go. Let me just drag this guy down. Okay, I'm just going to stretch this out just a little bit here. And there we are. So now let's put our faucet on here. I found just a faucet from our core catalog. I'll rotate that around. And let's talk about our different materials. So we have a material eyedropper. So I already have that backsplash that has the correct material on my vanity. So I'm going to single click on that material eyedropper, single click on the backsplash on the vanity area, and I'm still in room mode. You'll see the R in room mode. You can also do this for the entire floor or the entire plan. And with one click, we can apply that. All right, so now for the surrounds, all of our cabinets here, I'm going to change that to different color here. All right, so now that we have that up and completed, it looks like she has a kind of a chandelier option right over the top. So let's get into that. So we do have many different fixtures within the library, and I found the one that she used. So I'll just place that right in our view here. So we can select that, open that for specification, and we can specify what height we'd like, because it looks like it's going to our floor. So let's change that. Let's try 96. That might be our ceiling. Yep, pretty close. If not, we can also single click on that and change the different components. So I'll just drag that over here. And we'll open that up for specification, and we'll try 101. There we go. Okay, so now that we have that placed, let's get out of this 3D view and talk about our shower area. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit and get back into our 3D view and take a different angle. I'm going to go from this corner over. All right, so now we're going to get back into the dual view. I'm going to move this door over a little bit. Give us some more room. Okay, so with our shower, with a glass shower option, you can create your own custom, or we also have different shower options right through our library. If you just get into the fixtures area, showers, you can get into different existing showers. So feel free to use those, or I'm going to show you how to do your own custom. So we're going to get back into our wall tool, and we're going to start out with our half wall option. So with the half wall, I'm just going to click and drag and create kind of a room. It defines a different area. I'm going to open both of those at the same time. Just hold down Control to multi-select. We're going to open those up, and we're going to get into our wall types. In our drop down here, we have a few different wall options. One of those is glass shower. And then we can change the height right underneath the newels and balusters area. So that height should be 86. And let's get into the materials as well. So across the top, it's automatically going to put, we call it a railing. It'll just be kind of a surround there. So in Home Designer Pro, we have a plan material tab as well. So that will bring up all of the materials that we already are using in the plan. So I can just see, okay, well, I want that aluminum brushed instead of going through our whole catalog. All right, so that's been applied here. And then we can now change the different dimensions. We can bring that in a little bit. Looks like it's pretty small. Let's change our door. We'll do a smaller door. There we go. And then we can change this to, let's just do 5 feet. Clean that up a bit. All right. So now that we have our surround, let's get into our flooring. So that is within the room definition. So I'm going to just double click in the room. That's going to bring up our room specification. Under the structure tab, you have control over adjusting that floor, so you can move it up, move it down, whatever you'd like to do there. We also have molding control, so I can delete the molding in that room. And then we also have materials. So we do need to change the flooring from our wood to a different tile. So I'm going to open up our library material and get into just our core library. Under the materials, I can find our tile. I'm going to scroll down here, get into tile, stone. I'm going to do a limestone here, and we'll do this guy. So that's been updated. And now we need to apply that same material to our walls. So I'm going to place a wall covering on our wall. And I only need it on a portion of the wall, so we have a break wall tool. This is pretty handy when you are doing any wall coverings. So I'm just going to single click on the wall there, single click on the wall there, and now I can multi-select both of these walls, open them for specification, and apply a wall covering. So we can get in here, find that same tile material, under the stone, limestone, and then we need to tell it where do we want that on the wall. Well, I want it to reach the floor, so I want that to be 0. Then once you click in the middle here, it's going to update the top to ceiling. So for the height, I want it to reach up to the top of my glass shower. So that's 86 inches. All right. And there we go. Let's add a door here. So back to my door tool up top. I will place a door right here. And so it just kind of creates a doorway into that glass wall. I'm going to open that up for specification. We're going to change that to glass. We're also going to change that to hinged. And I want to change that thickness to 1/2 inch because that's what the other glass is. So we need to match that up. And then under our options, we do have control over a few different areas here. I'm going to show this open. And under the frames, I'm going to change the frame to be as little as possible. So I'm just going to type in 0. And then once you select a different area, it will go down to the lowest option for you. And then we'll also get into the materials. And it has a white frame around there. We can just get right in here and change that to the aluminum brushed as well. So I'm just getting into that plan material within the Home Designer Pro, but most of the other Home Designer programs just have the library browser, so you can just use that and go through there as well. Oh, I forgot our hardware. Well, let's drag that in. And now let's get our handles going on here. All right, so we have hardware as one of our tabs. And I'll open up our library so we can find a kind of custom handle here. We'll get into the hardware. There's one in the cabinets that I really like. It's a bar pull and it's a lung. We'll do the same with our exterior. We'll find that same bar pull and place that. And then you can change floor to bottom on that. And let's do 42 inches. Bring it up just a little bit. All right. So there we are. In our 3D view, you'll kind of notice with our tile, there's just a little strip of tile above here. We do have control to adjust that. So I can select that rainbow tool, and that will enable me to adjust this material. So we can get into our texture tab, and I can bring that up on the wall. Let's do it up 4 inches. And it's just saying, okay, you've changed the materials. Do you want to save those? Yes. And that will bring that up. So you do have a lot of different controls there. All right, so now let's just bring our camera around a little bit here. And with our wall, whoa, our door is definitely too large for our room here. Bring that over. Okay, so with our back wall here, or side wall, it looks like Chrissy has a different material. So we're going to get into that wall covering again and apply it. So I can just single click on that wall, open that for specification. We're going to get into a new material. So I have found one that I would like to apply. It's not the right color, but it's the right texture. So I was kind of going for texture because we can layer a different color on top of this. So let's change this to 0. We want it to reach the floor. And for the height, we just add these two together, 8 and 99. So it can go up to the top of our room here. And I'll select OK. So with that, we can get into our adjust material definition and change that. But before I do, let's address over our tile here. I want to put another option here. So we can get into just that wall section and we can add a new material. So we can layer different materials on that same wall. So you can definitely do this pretty easily just within the wall covering area. So floor to bottom, I want it to reach 86, so the top of the wall there. And I want it to reach the ceiling. So I want 21 and 5/8. Okay. So now our materials are all set here, and let's get into that adjust material definition again. With this, we can blend colors. So instead of using that just kind of blend color with material that I did earlier on our vanity cabinets, we can also just get into that define material and adjust it right here. With this option, we have this handy dandy little eyedropper that you can pull off to any website, to any different material, and pick that up. So now that has adjusted to that wall color I dragged on there. Let's lighten it up a little bit. And there we are. All right. Oh, we do need a fixture here. Let's get back into my fixture area here and into that 2D view so I have an accurate placement. There we go. All right, I'm going to close this view and get back into a different view here. I wanted to show you one more thing. We're almost out of time, but we do have time to address our mirrors. So as you can see, there's no reflection in those mirrors. And in Chrissy's, she did a very nice job and made it very realistic with the reflection. So I'm going to show you really quick on how to do that. Well, I'm going to show you how to apply, and then I'll show you a help article on how to actually do it since we're out of time here. So with the different mirrors, just like we did with our fireplace, you're going to select a material, which I have created. Oh, I'm in room mode. Let me undo that. We have an undo button pretty easily. So I'll do component mode and apply a material. So these different images I created just by going into a camera and click and drag out to get a view here. And that's pretty close, so you can zoom in and you can zoom out. You can adjust that view, and you'll want to export this view as a picture, so then you can rotate it and then import it as a material. And we have a very in-depth help article that walks you right through all of that. So I'll show you where you can find that as well. So you do have import-export capabilities, and to get that reflection, you'll just be using that help article that I'll show you all about. All right, so this is our design. Oh, there's one more thing, the flooring. I just get to pick a flooring here so we can actually get a good, I'm going to get into Armstrong and we'll do this guy. So not quite the same. Oh, and I missed the toilet. Man, what am I doing here? Okay, so we need a toilet. And I have one right in my library, so this is going to be fast as well. And so we have a toilet. That's going to go right in here, right in the nook here. And then you can add any more accessories that you want to complete that. And let me just get back into our 3D view here. So there's our fireplace, our tub surround, and we do have different towels and so forth just to accessorize everything. But there is our bathroom design, and I wanted to show you a few different areas within our 3D since we're in here. We have our final view, which will just kind of clean up any different jagged lines. You can also get into a vector view. You can do a glass house view. So you do have different options once you're in a 3D to kind of get a few different views with this. And on our website, I wanted to go over a few different areas. So first of all, we do have help articles. So just like I was talking about with the mirror options, I'm just going to type in mirror here and search. So this search area will search anything on our website. And here's our help article on how to make a mirror appear reflective. So that will walk you right through all of the steps there. We also have different training videos. So you can get into the videos, and we can also look up a bathroom and creating the different materials, or you can just search right through all of the product independent material. We also have additional live seminars here, so definitely sign up for more. We're always updating this list, so check that out periodically. We do have some different options when it comes to the design contests. So this one was the master bathroom, and as I mentioned, it will cover a couple months typically, but you can find out all of the details right through our users forum. That's Home Talk. And under announcements, our next one is a swimming pool. So definitely submit any swimming pool ideas, whether it's a photo or just your own design used with our software. You can win one of the design contests here. We do offer a 1-hour training seminar with the training professional here, water bottle and a t-shirt. So it's kind of fun. Get onto our Facebook page. You can find that right through our website at the bottom here. You can just click on F for the Facebook page, and you can also view anybody who has submitted as well. So you do have to be logged in to vote to like anybody's, but you can view if you don't have a Facebook page as well. So definitely participate. It's a fun activity, and I thank Chrissy so much for submitting her design and giving us the opportunity to work with that today. Definitely check out some different options on the website. We have our content for the different bonus or manufacturer libraries here as well. So we do offer a 30-day money-back guarantee with all of our products, whether it's an upgrade or a new purchase. We do support all of our programs. So you do have a 30-day money-back guarantee with that software. Definitely check out all of the training videos, the help articles, the Home Talk user forum area, and additional webinars. We try to provide as much training for you in different facets, so you do have a good opportunity to learn the software. And here's a final render of today's option. And if you do have any more questions, chat those into Jenna. She'll be on for a few more minutes here. So if you don't remember how to ask a question, just select that orange arrow button to restore the questions area to chat those in. And thank you so much for attending. If you have any additional questions that you don't want to chat in, please give us a call. We're here to help you out, figure out what software is right for you. If you want to upgrade, talk about any different options there, or you can also email us sales@chiefarchitect.com. So thank you so much for attending. It was a pleasure going over Chrissy's design, and have a wonderful day.